So what's up, YouTube? So one of my subscribers, which I love this question, asked, can I do a little bit more in-depth talk about my relationship with my hair spiritually? And so this is what this video is about, okay? And I'm gonna try to do my best to add captions and stuff, but for some reason the caption thing I used stopped working. So I'm gonna try to find something else, because again, I'm trying to add captions and stuff for obviously people who can't hear well or don't have, it's a lot of things, disabled people, whatever. But anyway, so the spiritual connection to my hair, right? It's kind of a long story, but at the same time, I'm not going to make it too long, right? But if you follow my TikTok, I'm going to post the same thing, but way more paraphrased, way more like overall in general. So this is just more in-depth about what I mean by the spiritual relationship I have with my hair. So first off, going back way since I was like in elementary, right? Two things happened. I was always wondering why black people's hair was so different. Like, why was 4C hair, 4B, 4A, why did it look like that? Like, why was it so distinctly different? And when you look up on Google, it'll tell you, oh, protect you from the sun so your scalp don't cook, evolved in Africa, woo-doo-woo-doo. And that's fine and dandy and all, but that was like, that was just so bland and like, okay, Afro hair does all this just to protect our scalp from cooking. And it's like, granted, nothing more, nothing less if that's the case. But at the same time, it just never... I also knew as a child, yes, I was very aware as a child. I also knew as a child that like a lot of the science that we have is based off Western white men, right? So a lot of times there will be a lot of biases because there is no diversity. There is no opposition telling them, hey, maybe XYZ. So I just kind of let it go, but it was always a question that I had. So growing up, I studied biology, chemistry, anatomy, you name it, right? I just was obsessed with science, all forms of science. And the inquiry, that question of why is black people hair so different still stayed with me, but it was never in the forefront. Until one day, I would move from a state I had been living in ever since I was like 11. I would move from there and move to the countryside. And when I go to the countryside, I would know nobody there, only my immediate family, so mom, dad, sister. And because in the countryside, everything was far away from me. So your stores, fast foods, all that stuff was like 15 minutes away. I also hated driving. I hated driving. The nearest city was 40 minutes away on a highway. I had never drove on a highway and I wasn't planning on doing that. So I was by myself, stopped eating fast food, stopped snacking, stopped buying candy. And the nearest things were me were like farmers markets, and there were small businesses that were home cooked. So that's the only thing I could eat. Home smoothies, fruits, vegetables, home cooked meals, whether I cooked or got some from a small business. And so my room, like how you see the sun coming in, so I had a room with it was a bigger window, and it was in the countryside. So the way my window faced, the sun was like in my room like 70% of the time. So, and it's also important to note that before I moved to the countryside, I was overweight. I had a binge eating disorder, severely depressed. It was a lot that had went on. So when I moved, the combination of the sunlight, not being influenced by anyone, all the eating good and all the healthy fast food, all the healthy fruits and vegetables and all the healthy foods. I started working out. I started like all that would invoke or start a spiritual awakening for me, right? Oh, and I also got to mention, and I don't want to forget this, but also when I was a child, besides the inquiry of black folks just having different hair was interesting to me, it was also because my mother went natural for the first time. So that interest sparked with that emotion. So seeing my mom go natural for the first time and having her hair, it had grew real big and long because, she maintained it. It awakened something in me. Anyway, so fast forward, like back to what I was talking about. So anyway, all that eating and healthy stuff would force an awakening in me, and my skin would clear up. As you can see, my skin had always kind of been good, but my skin like severely started clearing up. My hair started flourishing and growing. my mind was great. I was actually consistent and disciplined with what I was gonna do. Like, I was really doing it. And one of the things that happened was my hair. I became awakened spiritually in the connection to my hair, because again, my hair was already growing, and I always wanted long hair anyway, outside of the spiritual connection, because I didn't know anything about spirituality or nothing. So once that would happen, like once I became more awakened, the question that I had as a child of why Black people's hair is so different would be brought back up again years later. So then I would go on this whole journey of like learning about hair, but not just from a physical perspective, but from a spiritual perspective. And so I ended up moving from the countryside again back to the state I was at. So before I left, I moved back to that state, and life had went downhill from there. But it was almost like life knew it was going. It's almost like this was all planned out for my life to go to shit after I had moved back, because the knowledge I had gained would kind of keep me going, right? So anyway, I came back, life went down, but I still was on my journey. Like, I still was eating good. My skin was still clear. I still was exercising, because it had stuck with me. And so I would go through so many spiritual experiences, awakenings, coincidences that would happen that science could not describe. And as someone who loves science and I study science religiously, science cannot describe the things that I was experiencing, because science was not ready to tap into that unknown. But spirituality had already did. Cultures had already did. Science has yet to catch with it. And so I was just blown away. I document a lot of my stuff, so I'll probably make more story times. But I was just blown away by my experiences. But anyway, back to hair. So, I would come to find out, right, that hair is an antenna, and that this antenna's purpose is to keep you in commune with the creator, keep you in commune with the other side, which is essentially like the creator, keep you in commune with your environment. So warning, letting you know what's tea, what's up, and relaying all that information back to the body, so the body obviously knows what to do, and your brain knows what to do. It's why I believe that the hair sits right where the brain is, because it relays information quickly. It's connected to the nervous system quicker. I also believe that's why it sits at the head, because in I believe Indian culture or Hindu culture or whatever, the crown chakra, which connects you to the spirit world, God, and that's where hair is. And if you think about how important spirals are, you start to understand that 4C hair is very distinctively different for a reason. So it spirals, it sits at the crown, and it grows in all directions. It grows up. Hold on, it's a bug. Hold on, I'm gonna kill it. Okay, sorry for the intermission. I just moved, like I said, I just moved into this apartment. I have yet to really fully clean like I want. But, so I would learn that, our hair was special in that regard, the spiral nature. Because again, if you know anything about spirals, you understand how important they are, not only from a mechanical, physical, the way we use them as technology, but also from a spiritual perspective. Cultures understand spirals. And crown chakra sits right there, right? So if my hair naturally spirals and sits there, clearly it let me know that type 4 hair must be the shit. Type 4 hair must be important in some way, somehow. And so I would then come to find out how spirals actually work from like an electromagnetism perspective, in the sense of like how electrons kind of sit in those little grooves. I'll try to find a picture. I'll probably insert a picture, but where spirals, the little electrons, because like signs repel. So 2 electrons next to each other repel each other. If they're in like a straight pole, think of a straight pole, they repel. But if they're in a spiral pole, they overlap because they're not near each other, but they are, and their fields kind of come together and amplify the energy. That's exactly what I believe is happening with our hair. It's the same thing. It's just a spiritual component, not, mechanical. But it's the same thing, my belief. So it made sense as to why our hair will grow up towards the sun, to, because all that light, all that energy, right? It makes sense that it goes in all directions because of the environment. It makes sense that it would become moldable, like not become moldable, but it makes sense that our hair is very moldable and infinite in versatility, because when you understand the electromagnetic spectrum, I believe, right? Again, this right. So this is not science. Everything I said beforehand is scientifically true, in a sense of like, if it, you know, if it's not my spiritual belief, but right here is where I'm kind of like talking about my hypothesis. So my hypothesis, right, is that, so when you talk about the electromagnetic spectrum, we're talking about how it's a wave, right? But I don't think it's just a wave. I think it's a spiral. I think the electromagnetic spectrum is a spiral. We just see it as a wave, like the cross-cut section, which is a wave. Because if you cut a spiral, it creates a wave. So I think the electromagnetic spectrum is really a bunch of spirals, but it could be just waves too. But like I said, that's just what I think. But even if it is just waves, I think that it's interesting that Afro hair mimics that tightly bound coiliness, which would make sense as to why, in a sense, Afro hair seems to be so infinite in nature, like moldable to like do in all these different styles, because spirals can do that. If you think of the electromagnetic spectrum, it is one line that is either compressing itself or elongating itself. And within doing that stretching and compression, just like Afro hair does, and doing that, you get all this in existence, right? Because, you know, the electromagnetic spectrum is the reason why all of this stuff exists. And so that was kind of like, that would be a lot of the stuff I would start to like receive and start to understand, right? Like, whoa, right? So essentially our hair just mimics that of the divine creator, in a sense of infinitely creative, infinitely moldable. We can do so much stuff with our hair. Our hair is like the GOAT. Like, we can literally, if you have locks, you can literally cut your hair off and then just reattach the locks, or reattach your locks to someone else's hair, like some type of energetic signature. Like, our hair is just so cool like that. But anyway, and you know, our hair can be preserved for months at a time, of course, if you know what you're doing. I can preserve my hair for weeks, like a month or two at a time with my style. Like, yeah, our hair, without like tangling and mats, yeah, our hair's the GOAT. But anyway, so this was like the more metaphysical, spiritual, scientific version of what I would start to become aware of about our hair, right? So much more, right? It also is worth to note, for educational purposes only, I did take shrooms, so I also kind of saw a lot of this stuff too. But educational purposes only. Educational purposes only. I'm not telling anyone to do that, please. I know what I'm doing. I love science. You do not. Okay? So, another thing in how this relates to like the relationship to my hair is that I understand that like my body, this vessel, this matrix, is a 3D projection or a hologram of a 2D coding, which would be my DNA. And so the coding, which is information, DNA is information, and information you could say is energy or essence. So all the energy or the essence or the information of millions of people before me that came, you know, before me, obviously, that I have never met, this is the physical manifestation of that. So all their lives, experiences, traumas, thought processes, everything of who they were, right, essentially would be rewritten, recoded into something new, and then passed down for generations. And I am the current passed down version, right? And the whole point, of course, to rewrite coding and to evolve it through generation is to, you know, become better. So obviously the whole goal is to evolve to be better and better and better. So essentially, me learning my hair, learning myself, becoming better, doing my goals, working out, taking care of my skin, I'm not just doing it for me, but I'm doing it for all the energy and essences that came before me, right? So all the ancestors that couldn't do what I can do now. So when I care for my hair, I'm not just caring for dead keratin cells, but I'm caring for the people who couldn't care for their hair. I'm caring for people who were sick, enslaved. I'm caring for the people who never just got a chance. I'm doing it to reclaim ancestral knowledge. Like, caring for my hair is just not caring for dead, caring for cells. It connects me to the people that came before. So like, I feel like that's how I'm able to like navigate this spiritual shit a little easier, because I'm connected to people who are over there, who kind of see the other side. So, you know, that's like the ancestral connection I have with my hair, because I don't know if I hit that train, but because my hair is the accumulation of their coding. I didn't choose this, but I take care of it because I understand that I'm taking care of more than just hair. I'm taking care of so many experiences and lives and stuff. And the last component I'll talk about, because again, I'm not trying to make this video too long, but again, I do want to give y'all thorough clarity on what I mean by my spiritual connection to my hair. It's also why I don't do too many hairstyles, because I don't care to, right? I'm using my hair as a tool, not for aesthetic purposes. But another thing that I use my hair for, or another aspect of my hair, is that when I wear my hair out, it causes a lot of commotion. And when I say commotion, two types of commotion, internally and externally. Internally would be like my intuition off the charts, like so much spiritual experiences happen. Like I can make so many videos about my spiritual experiences. So intuition be off the chart. But another thing that happens besides internally, intuition, just peeping game, you know, third eye, is a lot of people do too much, do way too much. And what I mean by doing this is like, number one, some people will come up and touch me inappropriately, whether that be putting their whole hands where my scalp is to try to see if my hair is real, pulling my hair, trying to stretch it without my knowledge. You know how, like, for my ladies, when men kind of like will walk past you and they grab you by your waist and they assume I'm a girl. It be shit like that. I had managers open up a whole register for me so I could check out better. I've had, you know, old white men, you know, just wide-eyed, same with Mexican men. Like, it's a lot, right? So when I wear my hair out, it's never just like, oh, I'm just wearing my hair out to feel cute. It's like, it's always people doing extra, touching me or staring and murmuring, pointing. Like, it's so many experiences I could tell y'all about. So that is just kind of a little bit of insight what I mean by my spiritual relationship with my hair. And I do plan on going more in depth later, like, you know, more story times and stuff to kind of give y'all a better example. But yeah, so, oh, and before I go, I would, like I said, I would use my hair for manifestation purposes and things of that nature. So when it causes commotion internally, like intuition-wise, a lot of times, if it's like foresight, like knowing something's gonna happen before it happens, or like drawing in people's attention or energy, I'll use it like that. Or sometimes I'll even use it like transmutation of energy. And I'm not gonna go too in-depth because, quite frankly, a lot of people are not smart and educated. And so if I say this thing, I feel like a lot of people, I don't know, some child may come across my video and want to do it without actually knowing the spiritual meaning behind it and the, you know, the energetic essence of what, you know, would be. People just do stuff because they hear it. So I'm not gonna go too much into it unless people just really want it. But yeah, I've done so many magic stuff with my hair by accident, and it's like, when I tell y'all, hair is really powerful. It really is.